Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of Resilient with your host, me, Wintertooth100, and in today's episode we are going to be working on Kakariko Village. That's right, we're finally here. We've moved on from Snow Temple. Last episode we swapped it up and finished up Snow Temple, so if you want to see the complete Snow Temple, there's actually a really cool time-lapse of the entire build where we just kind of fly through the whole thing. Oh, it looks really cool. So if you want to see how Snow Temple turned out, be sure to check out the last episode. But in today's episode, like I said, we're going to be working on Kakariko Village. And I think there's two big projects I want to kind of tackle immediately. The first one's kind of not so much a project, but the second one definitely is a project. And that is to do the minor project, which is to lay out the foundations of where each of the buildings are going to go in our Kakariko Village. And the second, more major project is to find and define what's going to be the lines for the walls. We're going to have to go around. You'll see we got a bright green on one side and a more faded green on the other. That is the division between a mushroom biome and a not a mushroom biome. So it is literally the difference between where mobs can and cannot spawn, and considering we are going to have villagers be in here at some point, we're going to want to make sure we have some walls up so it is nice and safe in here. We do have the added upside though that because we don't have the ability to have mob spawn in this area, we do not have to worry about lighting so much, which means we can make builds that just look aesthetically pleasing without all these ugly torches lying around messing up everything. So let me take a moment. I'm going to I grabbed some dirt and some grass and some logs and slabs. I'm going to kind of try to figure out how to soften up this terrain so we don't have random holes like this guy over here, and start getting the houses plotted out. And we'll gonna try to figure out what the wall looks like. I'm thinking it's gonna be something along the lines of some kind of wooden platform kind of dealy. That way we can keep it in a kind of a medieval theme. I mean, we as the hero are running around with swords and shields, so it's kind of medieval by nature. And so I kind of want to make sure that we really lean into that. So give me one moment, let me define some places out here, and I'll see you guys in just a moment. Well, who would have thought it? I'm just doing the very basic bits of the wall. We have the shape down. They got a basic 3-block gap between the beams. It seems a little in your face at the moment, but it's both lacking detail and all of the natural obstructions that will come from the city. So if there's a building here and a building there and a building there and only like a 2 or 3 block gap between these buildings, you're really not going to see these walls. They'll be here just as much as they are now. The only place that they'll be really obvious is on the outside of the wall. So if you're returning to town from out in the wild, that's when you'll get to see these walls really as big and blunt as they are, because you'd be coming in and you'd be seeing this. They're not going to be flat like that either. This is just the baseline. So wherever the wall happens to be the shortest at the moment, that will be the peak height of that section of the wall. And then in that way, the walls will have varying height based on the height of the terrain that they're sitting on. Again, it's missing a lot of detail, but I ran out of both cobblestone and I'm on my last just under stack and a half spruce logs. So I need to spend some time. I'm going to go back to the main area, pick up a few of these boxes with me, and we're going to do a quick mining session to get some cobblestone and to get some of that wood, because we are already out of materials. Apparently, I thought we were doing pretty well after Snow Temple, but I guess that's not the case. So I'll be back in a moment with some more stuff so we can keep building. Okay, well, for some reason that felt extra tedious today, but now we got 2 boxes full of spruce logs, some extras because they don't fit, and 3 with the cobblestone. So we've recouped our losses, and I need to swing by one of the XP farms and repair these, which typically I would do off camera, but because we are now here so rarely, I thought we would do a quick visit to the shopping district. It's been mostly just me and Joe on the server, so I'm not expecting to have made any sales, but I don't think it would hurt to check, right? But as you can see, we've sold no shulker boxes. Again, it's mostly just been me and Joe, so the shopping district, I think, is more of an underwater ruin at this point. We'll swing by the currency exchange and see if anybody's done any donating of any kind. There's my original 3 stacks and my original 1 stack. Nope, looks like it was just me. I guess that means our next stop is the XP farm. Gonna repair my tools, and then we're going to try to finish up those walls and get the framework for the buildings in place. So I will see you when I have those. Alright guys, it's getting late in the day for me, so I need to film some more stuff while I still have time. I was starting to get into the groove of just working and totally forgetting that I am also making a video. It's not the first time that's happened to me, but I have found a design that I'm okay with and have put it all the way throughout on the inside and the outside. It is, I'll go on the outside as soon as we sleep. I need to focus on doing the terraforming because I accidentally, well, not so much accidentally, I knew my mom came into town so she could spend time with the cub, and so I had to take a little break here for a little bit, and that's what really cut into my time today. But we got the inside and the outside of the wall. It's the same design both front and back. From a distance, it doesn't look terrible. Like, if it was really bad, I would have completely cut it out, but you know what? I actually kind of like that. And we have this nice little gate in the front, so we can have some entrance. There's going to be plans for this gate. It's not just going to be a hole in the wall, it's actually going to be functional. We are working on the terraforming, and I want to get the terraforming done today. We're not going to get the buildings plotted out, I'm afraid I just don't have time for that. But right now I'm filling in this area right here, right where the Temple of Time is going to stand, and I've carved out this area where we're going to have like a little river flowing through the center of the town here, and it's going to come out to this little pond. You know, it's just going to look aesthetically pleasing. It means we can have a bridge connecting the two sides, houses on one side, some houses over here, the Temple of Time back in the corner over there. But as I've been working, I've been thinking about it, and I knew this ahead of time. This has always been the plan, that the player will get the Master Sword from the Temple of Time. And that's really important because if they're going to be arriving here at the Temple of Time with absolutely nothing on them, as per the rules of the map, they can't just leave and be okay. There's a solid chance that they will just get murderized, and if you need any evidence of that, look at any place where there's shadows, such as this tree over here, and you'll see how quickly these crazy areas fill up with dozens of mobs. So they can either spend their time avoiding all of the trees, which will become difficult in certain areas, or they can have some kind of protection. And so I knew that the Temple of Time was going to be the holding piece for the sword. But I've been thinking about it as I've been building these walls and starting this terraforming. The Temple of Time here will be like a mini dungeon, not quite to the scale of a temple, but a dungeon at least in the sense where it can be filled with a few puzzles and maybe some parkour stuff, and ultimately the reward for completing it will be the Master Sword. And I'm thinking the Temple of Time will just have a place to access, so you go underground and it'll all be under Kakariko Village, and in that way we can still build it however it needs to be built, but it's still inside the mushroom biome, so no mobs will spawn in there. So we can actually make the puzzles in any sense we want and not have to worry about building them so mobs don't spawn, so we don't have things attacking an unarmed player. Additionally, the Temple of Time is probably, or at least it's going to be like the conduit that's going to open this gate. This gate's going to be closed until you've got your sword, because we don't want them to just leave without the sword, because then they might never know that the sword's even there. So we're gonna get the sword, and either you'll get the sword, you'll open the chest, get the sword, and there'll be a button on the back end, and you'll push the button and it'll do some kind of redstone magic over here to make it so we like maybe there's a lever right here, and doing that, flipping the switch inside of there completes a circuit in here. So when we flip the switch here, it actually functions this gate or whatever. But we want to make sure that it's the kind of gate where you would come in and you'd flip the switch and one side will close and the other side will open, and then you come back out. And then of course when you come back, you flip the switch, the outside will close, the inside will open, and in that way hopefully we can prevent any and all monsters from being able to just wander in here and cause any kind of mayhem. But let me finish the terraforming. We'll take a look at it and kind of discuss where I'm thinking we're going to plot some things apart from the Temple of Time, and I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright, let's hope that Joe sleeps for us so we don't have to. But I kind of did a little terraforming, but I mostly did some plotting around. And it is kind of a lot to look at and to take in, and we'll have to take a closer look to really get a feel for it. But I tried to use different blocks of materials so we could really get a clarification between them. I didn't have too many different kinds of block materials. Anyway, you'll see a bunch of these little pluses. That's kind of where I've decided houses are going to be. So like we have one house here, and then we have a bunch over there. And then of course we have the Temple of Time marked out in a big square, or rectangle rather. We have a big square right here, and we have partial square right here. And so running through this, I view each of these as, thank you Joe, as being houses. These are all going to be houses. This will be a house. This one specifically though will be the farmer's house. And that will make this right here the barn. And maybe we'll do like, and these are rough, like this isn't going to define the entire outline of any particular building. But like this could be the barn, and maybe we do like a horse stables on it. And the idea is, so if you come back to town with your horse, you can park it and then do normal town stuff, right? This one right here, I have an idea to do a mini game with, and the thought process is that since this is a mushroom biome, the mini game would actually be, we'd bring the wall out here and kind of bring it around this tree that I'm standing on, and you see all these mobs that spawn in the dark, that maybe, just maybe, we can turn this into some kind of like strongman game, like some kind of mini game. Maybe we can set up some kind of scoreboard. I'm not very skilled with scoreboards, so this one will be a challenge. But picture, if you will, like you just finished one temple, right? And you got this special item. Well, you run down here, and now that item maybe helps you in this arena, and you can get a better score. And every time you go complete something and get a particular item, like you can get a better and better score in here and score better prizes. And maybe we can put something special in there, or alternatively we can turn it into something like an easy way for the player to win food, because food is how you're going to regenerate your health, because this is Minecraft, and that might not be so easy to get. So that basically defines all the main buildings: a barn, farmer's house, maybe some kind of mini game place, the Temple of Time, and all of the villagers' houses. And maybe these turn in, maybe a couple of these become like shops, you know. So maybe, you know, when we're out in the world and we find a random treasure chest and it contains, in Zelda terms, 20 rubies, right? Then we can come here and spend those rubies on food, something that is going to be a big commodity for the average player of this map. So we'll look at this a little more closely. We have this line right here represents a bridge to connect the two sides. Nothing about this is all in its very beginner stages. I have done no detail work for this little river. Like you can see, it's bare. It's totally bare down there. I haven't put any details in. These slabs, these stone slabs, represent pathways. So you'll see like the farmer has a back way entrance from the house to the barn. We have a path that goes down here and it zigzags up. It meets up with the farmer. And it's got random little pathways to the temple and just randomly to like the courtyard for the Temple of Time. They also make their way up and they follow along the two edges of the little river, and of course they make up the area up there. You'll see this big opening circle area. I imagine this being like all stonework and kind of making it like the town square, like the center, you know, quote unquote the square, even though it's more of a bean shape actually. And the rest of these cobblestone blocks, that's what those are. Those are going to represent some kind of a form of wall. So I picture for here at the Temple of Time, these would be more like your traditional walls made out of stone or bricks or logs or what have you, but like a traditional wall. And then the majority of the rest of these are going to be what I call shrubbery walls or natural walls, and that's basically like bushes, thick shrubbery, or we'll grow trees, and we'll do the thing with the tree trick that I really like to do, where you grow trees really close to each other, and then trees in a second row behind it, and then between those two rows of trees, you put leaves in there, so it looks like it's just a thick brush of shrubbery and plant life that you can't actually walk through. So all these represent like kinds of walls, and so we'll go take a closer look at it. Nice smooth landing. This whole area back here that we're in behind the farmhouse and the barn would be like an actual farm, so we'd actually plant some stuff back here and make it feel like an actual, like this village sustains itself. But if we're on the path right, we'll be walking along this way. This will actually be like trees, shrubbery. It'll partially block the views of things, which will really help take away from this constant droning wall pattern that we currently have. You see it on both sides, and so when you're walking through here, you're either going to get like this feel of like you're just walking next to the river, you got some life on one side. When you come through this path, it's on both sides, so it feels like you're being funneled through, and it's really going to make the place come to life. There's going to be plenty of areas like this where the shrubbery actually comes all the way around, and so we have a couple of opportunities with it. The first and most obvious thing we're going to do initially is seal it off. This will just be an area that you just can't get to, but later when we are working on other temples and the ideas come to us, we might find that one of the items has a funny behavior. Like honestly, I've had, I don't know, maybe a half an hour tops to play with all of the special custom items myself. So we might find some strange behavior, and we might be able to do something with it. Like maybe one of the items specifically, I don't know, destroys jungle leaves for some reason, right? So like once a player discovers it, once we discover that, we can make that a part of the temple, a thing that we use for puzzle solving. And then when you come back here, you're gonna think, oh yeah, didn't I see jungle leaves somewhere? And then you'll come look around, you'll be like, oh, they're right here, and you'll do the thing which breaks the jungle leaves. And then at that point, once we know that that's possible, because we made a temple off of that idea, we might be able to hide something in here, like bonus stuff for the player, like spare food, extra money so they can buy arrows, perhaps for like a bow or something. Well, speaking of bows, that'll be something else that we have to figure out, is how to, we're going to want to disable all the mob drops when players are here as well. Didn't even consider that. That'll also be unintentional behavior. I don't want the players to have ranged weapons, and if you kill enough skeletons, you're bound to get a bow. So we'll have to figure that out. Just imagine, if you will, for a moment, that these are leaves and trees and, wildlife, plant life that's making these separations. Imagine how immersive this would feel. It'd feel almost mysterious every time you came through here. Trees on either side, you can only kind of see in front of you, and you see we have cobblestone there, so there'd be more trees right there. We'd get a glimpse of the edge of two buildings here, and we'd just be on this pathway being funneled in. So I have a feeling that this is going to turn out looking quite nice and a little mysterious, and I'm really looking forward to it. And speaking of which, let me do a quick jump cut real quick to help illustrate what I'm trying to explain. Now, we've definitely been here before. This is the little village I built to go with Castle Honorguard. But we just walk through it real quick, because this demonstrates what I was talking about between natural walls, bushes, that we got leaves between trees, and it makes it feel like it's natural, but it's clearly a barrier. We cannot get through there, and that's kind of what I have in mind, is do something similar to that. So we'd end up building a city that looks quite similar to this. The difference is I'm going to try something very crazy with the houses, and they might end up looking like poo-poo. But I'm going to be spending a little bit of time in a test world and playing with some different ideas for what the houses are going to be like. This is kind of what I wanted to take a look at. This is the feeling that I'd want to get from our Kakariko village, where there's trees growing in the middle of the path. It feels like we're getting funneled through. There's houses in here. There's plenty of plant life, tree life. Picture this. Kind of strongly picture this. At least the feel for this when we're working on Kakariko Village. That's kind of what those outlines, those sketches, the blueprint for the city represents, is something similar to this. In fact, really similar to this. Like, this has its own farm as well to sustain itself, and so it's, in many ways, it's quite similar to this particular little village that we built, except the one we're doing is wholly dedicated to being Kakariko Village. It'll contain the Temple of Time. The Temple of Time itself will be a mini dungeon. There'll actually be a mini game there, shops to resupply yourself in the middle of the adventure map. So Kakariko Village certainly has a lot more functionality than this little unnamed village. But I think that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly, anybody who sticks around and watches these videos, especially if you make it to the end here, you guys are rock stars, and I would certainly like to do something special for you. So if you made it to this point in the video, say something down in the comments, let me know, and I'm going to include you guys in the Temple of Time. There's a little, it's a Patreon thing typically, but I think I'm going to make a special exception for anybody who's making it to the end of my videos, and I'll do this at the end of each of my videos for a little bit. And anybody who comments about being, having heard this, because obviously this is what I'm doing, is at the end of the video, then I will be sure to jot your name down and get you included into the Temple of Time, where you'll be immortalized forever, which means your name will be in the available download for the adventure map when it is complete. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Leave a like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, share with your friends, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one.